Hello, this is Rabbi Yehuda Levin. Recently, I made a video calling on my fellow Jews in Lakewood, New Jersey, to join us this Thursday, June the 6th, at 9:30 p.m. at the corner of New Hampshire and Cedar Bridge Road, to protest the homosexualization of a very religious community whose community standards and values are traditional and biblical. I was surprised to learn that my video had been sent out or had been seen thousands of times, by Gentiles in the greater Ocean County community, and that an organization on their website, Ocean County Rise Up or something like that, Rise Up Ocean County, it seems that somebody there referred to this vile rabbi and the vile rabbi statement, and people told me it's me. I don't know if it is, if it's not. I've been called much worse things than vile, but for the glory of God, I have no problem with that. This is the first in a series of 2 or 3 videos, which I'm making now for the general public. First of all, I have to establish my credentials vis-a-vis the Christian community, if I may. From 1979 until the death of Nellie Gray, the founder and leader of March for Life in Washington, I spoke for over 30 years at the march representing the Jewish community. I'm a strong pro-lifer. In 1984, I ran for Congress in Brooklyn, New York, against the powerful Stephen Solars, congressman, and forced him to out-Reagan the Reagan White House in suddenly becoming anti-communist. He took his sponsorship off a national homosexual bill. And the following year, I followed that up by running against Ed Koch as one of 4 candidates for mayor of New York City on the Right to Life ticket, where I captured the headlines in the New York Times sponsored debate by criticizing the mayor for his promoting the abortion and homosexual lifestyle. I was called one of the 10 most important people by the Inside the Vatican magazine over a decade ago for my defense in the United Nations, a press conference of the Vatican and the Church, and for all that they do to stand up for family values. The late Cardinal O'Connor would call me his most favorite rabbi and a good friend, and I work constantly with him. And he invited me to his residence when Pope John Paul was there visiting with Jewish leaders. I sent a letter to Italy to a pro-Vatican rally that drew hundreds of thousands of the faithful Catholics to oppose a homosexual parade near or inside or in the vicinity of the Vatican. I defended various Catholics and like Father Paul Marks of Human Rights International, as well as Reverend Pat Robertson, the evangelical leader, when they were accused of being anti-Semites. I've done many, many things, including fighting with Phil Donahue when he was putting down Catholic teachings on his program. And I want to suggest that Ocean County, in my understanding, is largely a traditional family values community. And even if there is a difference between certain segments of Ocean County and the greater and expanding and enlarging Jewish community, it's not my purpose to address that here, but to say that I'll tell you where my philosophy is. Around 10 or 12 years ago, they were having a homosexual parade in Jerusalem. Again, pride and deviance, which I believe is a threat to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. So I went into an extremely Arab town called Azariah, where Jews wouldn't venture. I went there to meet the second most powerful clergy in that part of the world after the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. His name was Sheikh Taysar Tamimi, who was the head of the Supreme Court of the Muslims. And he was such a shocking person that when the Pope visited Israel and he was at a meeting, the Pope walked out on him because of his anti-Semitic attitude. But I felt that for the benefit of Jewish youth and Christian youth and Islamist youth, that all of us have to oppose the homosexualization of society and the downturning of family values, the degrading of family values. And thus I worked with him. And certainly, we have a shared Judeo-Christian ethic. And I want to personally appeal to Congressman Chris Smith, who is an acquaintance of mine going back to at least 1984, when Chris Smith signed a letter with 19 other conservative Republicans when I ran against Stephen Solars. I want to appeal to Congressman Smith and to Catholic clergy, and particularly evangelical clergy, I want to appeal to them to join with us in Lakewood, New Jersey. This is something that affects the entire country and the entire society. The pushing of foreign values, anti-family values down our throats, both through the Blue Cross Stadium Pride Night, to be politically correct in an atmosphere, in a community which totally rejects this. These are not our community standards. And our taxpayer dollars, the taxpayer dollars, I should say, of the Lakewood community goes to subsidize the Blue Claw Stadium, which has been rented until now for something like $35,000 a year, and they get paid. This includes their gas, their electric, and their lighting, etc. They just signed a 40-year contract for something like $130,000 or $150,000 a year. It's a joke. They make something like $11,000. Now, the way the township does this is they want to have plausible deniability. I'm sorry, it's my own co-religion, this, but I'm a straight shooter. And like the prophets of old in our book of prophets, we constantly saw Jewish leaders, prophets, even if they were reviled. So I'm used to being called vile, you see. Doesn't bother me. Water off a duck's back. They were reviled by their own Jewish leadership in many cases, but they spoke truth to power. They spoke the word of God, and I'm doing the same thing. And they made something called the Lakewood Industrial Committee or something like that, so they could be one step removed. And they gave this committee tremendous power, and then they leased the land to the Blue Claws for pennies, literally, for pennies, for a joke. And now they have a 40-year contract, so they feel free, audaciously, to flaunt their politically correct Judeo-Christian family values in the face of many people. They're corrupting our people, and they're doing the same thing in the Lakewood Public Library, where the Jewish kids can't walk into the library because they're besieged, beleaguered, assailed by all kinds of pro-LGBTQRST propaganda. So I want to take this opportunity. I really think we should understand that Senator Bob Singer is behind this thing. He's one of the heads of this organization, the Plausible Deniability Organization. And I don't know how for sure. I would love to see some media do an investigation and find out whose pockets are being filled and where's all of that money going to when they give such bargain basement prices to the Blue Claws, and why do we have to have the additional suffering? Ocean County at large, you can ignore this. This is in Lakewood now, you understand. But when they succeed in Lakewood, they'll come to Jackson, they'll come to your places, and they'll force feed, and they are doing this already. They're force feeding this in the public schools, etc. It's time to rise up, Ocean County. Rise up together. Let's put aside our differences for this particular family values gathering and join with us. And let's see if we can't start to work together. Thank you very much for listening and for giving this consideration. We'd love to see evangelical and Catholic priests here. And I stand with Bishop Tobin of Providence, Rhode Island, to put out a tweet that this whole Pride Month and all these Pride activities are anathema. They're antithetical to Catholic teachings. And of course, as Pope John Paul said, the Catholic teachings, the Catholicism is a grafted branch off of the olive tree of Judaism. So certainly, Bishop Tobin has accurately reflected our feelings of this Judeo-Christian vital ethic for the protection of already beleaguered family. Thank you so much for listening, and please spread the word. See you there.